Connecting. Alrighty. Thank you for making yourselves available today and to be able to participate in the Kind Words for Tough Talks masterclass. This is work that's been created by Cecilia and it contains so many practical tools. So Dale and Michael, if you've got a pen and paper handy, I strongly recommend, if you don't have one, go and grab one because there's some really great tools in this. And you've got the luxury of being able to open up your mic and ask a question. I mean, you always have that luxury, but you can feel a lot more comfortable to do that if you want to. I know it's a bit tricky for you, Michael. You can always pop things in the chat if you want to, but Dale, please feel free to ask a question anytime along the way. We do have a cheat sheet that does get emailed out afterwards for this as well. So if you miss any of those tools or strategies, then you'll see them in the cheat sheet. And we really want you to share these as well. So if you get great value from this information, please make sure you share it with other people. The more that we share this information, the more that we create greater dynamic and it supports us to get our word out as well. So just a quick bit of a background on who Cecilia and I are. Dale, you may not have heard this story. Cecilia is someone that we've brought into the team to support us in delivering this content, preparing this content. And we have no shame in sharing with you that we're Gen X. And the reason that we share that is that because we come into the workforce when there was no faxes, or sorry, there was faxes, there was no email, there's no social media, there's no mobile phones. So we had to get really good at our people skills. And what we like to focus on is the human side of work, the things that are really awkward and difficult. And one of the things that I do in my work is workplace mediations. And so this ties in a lot with what I see in workplace mediations when people aren't able to have some of these tough conversations. What we want to do is support people to lead change, to manage those difficult relationships, be able to resolve conflicts, so that we're not seeing you at that side of mediation. And Cecilia and I say we're not perfect. None of us are perfect, but how can we roll with the punches and what can we do to build our capacity and our resilience and to feel safer at work? We often start our talks talking about all of the components that impact upon us to be able to function within the workplace. What can we do to be able to manage well within the workplace? And what are the things that are going to impact upon our capacity to do that? So it can be whether or not we feel safe at work, whether we feel good about going into the workplace. Mission control is about that leadership capability and our time management. And the essential human skills are things like being able to manage our emotional intelligence, our stress management. All of those things impact upon our capacity to function really well. So when we talk about when we're talking about how our brain works and how we function in those stressful situations. So and particularly when we're in a situation where we're receiving bad news. So the interesting thing is it's not just the receiver who experiences a threat response in the brain. Delivering bad news can be really distressing for us. And it can trigger a range of emotions for us. And it can be sometimes, I think, as stressful for the receiver as it is for the deliverer of that bad news. We can feel guilty, we can feel embarrassed, awkward, anxious, all of those things. So if you feel that, you're not alone in that experience, right? And when we deliver difficult news, we're not just communicating information, we're triggering a threat response. And it's triggering a threat response in the other person's brain as well. I mean, we're worried. also as the deliverer, how people are going to receive that information. How are they going to have a really negative emotional response? And so what the research shows that our brain processes social threats, things like rejection, embarrassment, and also receiving bad news. And it's the same. What's really interesting, even though they're emotive experiences, it's the same neural regions that processes physical pain as well. So there's so much more research coming out about the stress response. I found that so much has come out since COVID, and neuroscientists at UCLA used fMRI, which is functional magnetic resonance imaging, to be able to look at what is happening in the brain during these difficult experiences. And it's a non-invasive brain imaging technique that maps brain's activity. And what's really interesting is it's looking at changes in the blood flow, and it scans what's happening within the brain when they're experiencing social rejection. Now, here's what's really interesting. They discovered that regions of the brain that activate when you experience pain, such as stabbing a toe or burning your hand, were lit up. So it's the same place. And that explains why people say when they've received bad news or unexpected bad news, it's like a punch in the gut or I was knocked over. We often find language that helps us to conceptualize these feelings that we're having as a stress response. You're going to hear me talking about the amygdala. Oh, poor little Kermit, look at him. So you're going to hear me talking about the amygdala. And this comes from Dan Siegel. He talks about flipping the lid. And I'm going to take you through the process of what happens. The amygdala is like an alarm center in the brain. And what's really interesting about the amygdala is it's often referred to as the reptilian part of the brain. It's the primal part of our brain that kicks into gear when we're under threat, and it kicks into gear the fight or flight response, right? It kicks out all these hormones, and I'm going to explain this to you in just a moment. So when you hear me talk about the amygdala, that's what I'm referring to. And there's so much stuff on the internet that you can Google and search about the amygdala hijack. So the thing is, though, right, when we talk about threats, it can just be words that are threats, that are a threat to our well-being. And our amygdala doesn't know the difference between we often say doesn't know the difference between a real and a perceived threat. And when I say real threat, like a crocodile about to eat you, the threat is you're about to lose your job. And the amygdala will have a similar response. It doesn't know the difference between life-threatening things and job-threatening things. So we have this trigger, and it could be things like your project's been cancelled, or we're going to restructure the team, or someone saying to you, can I give you some feedback? They're the kind of things that will trigger a responsiveness. And so the amygdala goes, sounding the alarm. It detects that threat and it doesn't know the difference. It just goes threat, danger. I can sense that you're not feeling comfortable and you're feeling threatened. And then what we have is the hormonal flood. You've probably experienced this, like you get hot flushes, you start to sweat, and this is all the hormones kicking into gear, releasing the hormones that you would normally use to run from a predator or fight it. But it's the same hormones. So you've probably heard of things like cortisol, adrenaline, and this triggers the fight, flight, and now they even say freeze response. That cracks me up, the freeze response, because I always think about those goats that have you seen those videos of those goats where you scare them and they freeze and fall over? But some people also have that response where they absolutely freeze in those stress situations. And it's all those hormones that are flooding into our system when we're put in these stressful situations. Now, I don't know about you, but you're probably starting to think about those, remember those, relive those experiences. Even that right now is starting to put those hormones into your system. So if you're starting to feel things right now, don't be alarmed. That can be just your brain reliving those experiences. What you typically experience is your heart rate increasing. It's got to move the blood around your body and get all those hormones around your body and get all the adrenaline through your system. Your blood pressure will rise. Your muscles will tense because they're preparing for a blow or to attack. Your senses sharpen, but your focus narrows. If you think about it, you can't have too many complex thoughts if you're running from a crocodile. You've just got to go into that survival mode. And so your brain shuts down a little bit. And the things that you don't need when you're running or fighting a threat also shut down. Your digestive system, your reproductive system, a whole heap of things shut down. So if we've all done this, after an intense situation, go, oh, why did I do that? Or why did I say that? Our brain is really shutting down and just in survival mode. So it's not firing on all pistons, for lack of a better word. What that means is the prefrontal cortex, that very cognitive part of our brain, the very developed part of our brain that's rational, looks at facts and figures and analyzes everything and makes sense of everything, that goes offline. Right, that human part of our brain kind of switches off and we just go into animal instinct. So, and it's that part that's really critical for communication. It's that part of our brain that puts those feelings into words. Everything else is just the sensations. So it just goes offline and it impairs that function of our brain. So don't beat yourself up if afterwards when you're going, what was I thinking? What I know I'm smarter than that. Your prefrontal cortex is shutting down, but there are ways for us to be able to have a bit of intervention into that. So the brain diverts its metabolic resource, which is blood and oxygen, away from the slow, energy-hungry parts of the body, and it goes into that survival operation. And what happens is with the prefrontal cortex offline, our responses are completely primitive. So the fight, we become defensive, argumentative, angry, or we're making accusations. This is unfair. It's your fault. And some people, it's not uncommon in mediations where one person won't recognize they've even gone into that state, but the other person will even interpret that as being physically aggressive, even though they're not, but they're just so worked up that people can interpret that and recall that situation as being physically threatened, even though they weren't. They were just so aggressive. The flight response is shutting down, withdraw, disengaging, even physically leaving a situation, leaving a conversation, not turning up to work. I can't talk about that right now, walking away. And then the freeze response is just when people go blank. They go silent. They just don't know what to say in that situation. They're unable to process the information or respond to questions. And you can imagine those situations. What have you got to say? Don't just sit there. Haven't you got anything to say in this situation? They're just frozen in that situation. Am I stressing you out in reliving these experiences? So the amygdala is being very responsive in these situations for both people. And look, it happens to everyone, especially when we haven't had the opportunity to prepare for these situations, when it's hit on us and it's unexpected. We're definitely going to trigger into that flight or fight response or the freeze response. It's just the way our body and our brain is designed to function. It's a primal response. Now, Cecilia's got a lovely video to be able from the office to be able to share this with you. So I'm just going to stop sharing so I can maximize this for video. Just bear with me. Turning it on, sharing the sound and optimizing for video. Okay, share my screen. Alrighty, so hopefully it'll play.
She's still here. What do you think?
Looked alright.
How did it go? What's the news?
What did you say?
Fine.
What's the damage?
It's complicated.
Are you going to tell us?
Yeah.
David.
Bye.
We'd like to know now.
Okay. Right. Okay, gather. Yeah, you are. Well, there's good news and bad news. The bad news is Neil will be taking over both branches and some of you will lose your jobs. Yeah, yeah. Those of you who are kept on will have to relocate to Swindon if you want to. Yeah. Stay. I know. Gutting. You didn't see me. On a more positive note, the good news is I've been promoted. So, every cloud. You're still thinking about the bad news, aren't you?
There's no good news, David. It's only bad news and irrelevant news.
Yeah, that's not a phrase though, is it? I couldn't come out and go, oh, I've got some bad news and some irrelevant news.
You could have just told us about Neil. Kept your promotion to yourself.
Yeah, right.
Should have told us the good news first, got you happy.
There is no good news, David.
I think promotion is genuinely considered good news.
We're going to lose our jobs.
You're not all going to lose your jobs. God, just... Right, you're not going to lose your job. You're not going to lose your job. You know, you're not going to lose your job. So, let's get it in perspective, yeah? Come on.
Oh my God, it's just so bad. That's excruciating watching that. I don't know how you all feel watching that. So, I mean, it's a great example, isn't it? That I'll just get my slides up again. Of how we need to prepare. I mean, he was pretty ill prepared. How we need to prepare and position things in order to be able to relay some information that may not be fantastic. And so there's some factors that we want to consider in terms of preparing ourselves. And so you don't go into that fight or flight response. And so you can support the people that you're speaking with to be able to manage and function with this news that's being delivered. That experience just put me in a stress response just watching it. So the first thing we've got to think about is how severe is the news? Your job is being eliminated is much more serious than the budget approval is delayed for another 2 weeks. And it's so interesting when I'm doing mediations and I see the impact for people, the stress of work and potentially losing their job, how it manifests for them physically. It has such a huge impact. We spend so much of our time at work. The other thing that we need to consider is a person's baseline. So if a team member is already stressed, tired, sleep deprived, emotionally exhausted, they're not going to be able to deal with that information as well. They're going to have a lower threshold for being able to manage that amygdala hijack. And there's a lot of acronyms in this training, so you might want to write them down. Sometimes acronyms are really useful to be able to remember information or recall it. So this is the HALT acronym. HALT is hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And I think this kind of resonates with Maslow's theory as well, if you've ever looked into that as well. So, and Cecilia spends a lot of time, and for those that jumped on the call late, Cecilia is the person that normally delivers this training, and we're partners and I'm delivering it for her. So, but one of the things that she often talks about when she's delivering this training is about customer service in airports. When you're traveling in airports, and when you're traveling, especially if you're not used to it or it's a new airport, it can be incredibly stressful. And seeing how customer service staff at airports and on airplanes manage different situations is really interesting. Some of them are just amazing, some of them not so amazing. Uh, so we had, I'm in Alice Springs in the Northern Territory of Australia, and we had a whole heap of politicians here in for a recent meeting, and apparently our chief minister, which is like head of state, was traveling with her daughter and was in an exit row and got asked to move. And apparently the way that it was handled and received was not fantastic. So some people can handle things really well, some people not so well. The other thing that is everybody experiences stress differently. So if we've had bad experiences in the past, we kind of bring that baggage, for lack of a better word, with us. We may be a little bit more sensitive situations because of past experiences. So, understanding different personality types, applying your emotional intelligence to understand people's experiences, even what's going on for them in their personal lives, can help you position the information really well and prepare how you're going to share information with others. So, if you know something about their history, then it can inform you in terms of how you're going to deliver. And then the last thing we want to think about is the delivery method. So there's some things that you can have control over and some that you can't. We want to work obviously with what's within our control. And so I'm going to share with you some different methods around doing that. Okay, so I'm interested to know, just in the chat, haven't had anyone pop anything into the chat just yet. Has anyone heard of the SCARF model before? I'm going to share the SCARF model with you. Has anyone, just a yes or no, has anyone heard of the SCARF model? Elisa hasn't heard of it. Thanks, Alicia, for sharing that. How about the rest of you? Yes or no? Anyone heard of it? Few no's, that's good. Awesome. So this was developed by a Australian psychologist. I think he's now based in the US, Dr. David Rock, in 2008. And it's very, very popular. Psychologists often use it when they're coaching leaders in terms of how to deliver information. And it's a really straightforward, easy to remember model. Again, it's an acronym that helps you remember it. And it's actually grounded in neuroscience. So it helps you using this acronym helps you to recall 5 things that our brain's constantly scanning for these things in order to feel safe. So if you can use this model in preparing for these difficult talks, you're actually working with how people's brains like to function. And there's kind of these threats that we're looking for in order to stay safe. So you want to think of SCARF as a simple playbook for operating and enhancing a really respectful conversation. And for leaders, it enables you to be professional, but kind of neutral, to be fair, to be genuine. It's very easy to get sucked into the emotions of a conversation. So it enables you to follow a format that empowers you to be emotionally intelligent, professional, not quite neutral, but certainly fair and transparent. And it's a great one. This model's really good if you're having to support people through change. Change will always create tensions and conflicts. I see that a lot in mediation. It will support you to build rapport and trust with the person that you're sharing the bad news with. And it enables you to support them in coping with the news. So yeah, it might feel a bit awkward at first. And here's the thing, I would say to you, when going into these difficult conversations, prepare as much as you can, write things down, think about the questions or the statements you want to say, because remember, when you're going into a stress response, your brain is shutting down. So you're not going to remember all these things. You think you will, you think, oh yeah, I know what to say, I'll remember that, but you don't move into that space, that high cognitive prefrontal cortex space. Okay, so let's go through them. So we're going to start with S. And if you want to write this down, but it will be in the cheat sheets that we share with you. But I think if you write things down that stand out for you, it's really helpful. S is for status, the threat of being embarrassed, feeling singled out, being interrogated or questioned. So somebody might say, are you saying I'm less valuable? Are you demoting me? Am I going to lose my job? Are people going to laugh at me? Am I going to lose my standing in my professional network? And again, I see that in mediations as well. People worry about what everybody's saying about this conflict. C is for certainty. We want to feel certain. We want to feel, we don't like it when things are unpredictable. And we can easily get triggered when plans change, when there's unforeseen forces at play, things that we didn't know were going on. The goals are shifting, the strategy's shifting. What is this going to mean for me? How am I meant to adapt to this? What's it going to mean for my job, my future? Do I still have a job? What kind of work are you going to be expecting to me? What work am I going to lose doing? So most people want to feel certain when they rock up to work each day about what to expect or what to anticipate. Autonomy is a really interesting one. And I think that this is one that when you think about the difficult conversations that you go into, this is often one that's forgotten about or neglected. So if my capacity to own my work and to feel a sense of autonomy, if that's threatened, then I'm going to go into that stress response. So we don't want to be micromanaged. People typically don't want to be micromanaged, questioned, challenged. And people want to have input into things. They want to be consulted. Otherwise, you will see this quiet quitting, that retracting response. They'll just feel like they're a pawn. They're not valued. They're not appreciated. They're just someone that sits in a seat and presses buttons, so to speak. They want to feel like they've got input into the workplace. And it's a big thing for keeping people motivated in the workplace, this one. This one, people will quietly quit if their autonomy is threatened. R is for relatedness. So our brains are wired for social connection. In fact, when we go into the stress response, we produce a hormone called oxytocin. Oxytocin is often known as the cuddle hormone. We produce it when we cuddle and we kiss and we're intimate and all of those environments, but we actually produce it when we're stressed as well, because we want to, it's our body priming us to reach out and connect to people. And if we feel like we're going to be excluded in the workplace, that's going to activate an alarm. So I want you to think about it in terms of that really ancient brain response of, do I belong here? Is this my tribe? Are these my people? Am I being pushed out of this group? Is this workplace still the right one for me? Do I still have a role within this group? Do I still align with the values of the workplace? So if we're getting all this bad news, these are the things that are going to go through our head. Don't worry, I've got some tools and strategies to help you work through this scarf model, so stand by. F is for fairness. So I'm sure you've seen this where people have that reaction. This is not fair. This is not right. You can't do this to me. This is not natural justice. All of those kind of responses. People are questioning, am I being treated the same way as everyone else? Or are you just picking on me because duh, 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 duh. Is this level? Is this a level playing field? Is this fair treatment? Am I being picked on? And we see more and more people making accusations of bullying. Some of them are founded, some of them are not, because there's this response being triggered. So we're going to go through actions that you can do to reduce the threat. Okay, we're going to look at some steps, things that you can put in place, particularly around the SCARF model, to be able to have these difficult conversations. We want to make sure that the meeting is at the right time, that there's plenty of time to have these conversations, and it's the right environment. I can't tell you how many times that I've done mediations that have been in the wrong environment where people have felt trapped or claustrophobic. It's things like whether there's enough light in the room, people have access to the door, just simplest things. And we want to show empathy. So, not sympathy. Empathy is being able to see things from people's perspective and hear their perspective, understand their experience rather than assuming that we know what it is. We want to be clear, direct, and factual. And this is, I think, sticking to the facts is a really important one. And again, in mediation, this is one we focus on. We try and take the sting of the emotion out of the communication. I often talk to people about being a bit like a police officer doing a report. You're just sticking to the facts of the situation. And it's valuable to be able to explain context, how this fits in place with what's going on, and the simple explanation of the rationale without apologetically over explaining things. It's important that our tone is slow and calm and it is factual. We want to be able to give people that space to absorb things and to listen and to wrap their heads around what they're saying. So that's going to reduce threats if we apply those simple things. That's a good action plan. Like, that's a good checklist. Am I doing all this in preparation for this meeting? Is this how I'm going to deliver the information? This is what's going to increase threat, right? So it's useful to be able to let people know that you're going to have a conversation on what you're going to talk about. If they're not prepared, they're off guard, that's going to trigger that stress, that flight or fight response. You're going to have an emotive response. You definitely, goes without saying, right? Not to make it public or in front of others. That's going to trigger a whole heap of responses. Sugarcoat the message or be vague, like The Office. Hey, you all lose your job, but I get a promotion. That's his way of sugarcoating it. And we certainly don't want to make it personal, blame others, make excuses. It is taking ownership for the situation and just communicating it as it is. We don't want to go, sorry, it's not my fault. It's head office that's made the decision. Also, by the same time, we don't want to be robotic. We want to be able to understand the human side in this experience for people. So let's look at some other things in terms of that status of language. What are some self-management strategies that we can implement? So we want to think about our own values and ask ourselves, if we're particularly in that difficult situation, what evidence do I have of my competence here? So the sort of things that could be where our status might be triggered, for example, is a promotion, a new layer of management. These are the things that are going to trigger a response in us. So yeah, we want to, if we look at the SCARF model, this is the kind of language that we can utilize, right? Sorry, I'm wanting to make sure you can see them all. Yeah. So this is saying we're setting up the conversation, being able to say, this is the status of the situation. This is the status of what we're looking at in this in terms of the news I'm about to prepare with you. And people are going to be asking, yeah, like you're going to be asking yourself if you're on the receiving end, what are my values? Is my job under threat? And when we're talking about certainty, it's that communicating to people about this is what you can be certain of. This is where the stability exists for you. We're following that scarf model. What are the concrete steps that you can take? So people will be triggered in this stage where there is unclear timelines, project scope is changing. So if that's the nature of what you're communicating, you want to zero in on this component of the scarf model, right? If that's unclear, you've got to put a bit of a spotlight on that. If there's restructuring, leadership change, what can you communicate that will give people a sense of certainty? So this is what we know. This is what I can share with you. This is the things that are going to stay the same. These are the things that are going to change. That's going to give people a sense of security, I guess, certainty. The autonomy. So remember, this is about people wanting to own their own work and their own path. So we want to, this lovely language here in terms of how you can focus on that. Let's look at what you can do. What are some options for you? What are your thoughts? What can you own essentially in this situation? So they're going to be thinking, or you in that situation are going to be thinking, what can I own? What can I customize? What is mine? So we might see this in government when there's been a change of government where people feel like that they're powerless to do the work that they were meant to do, and that can be really quite confronting. They can feel like they're going to be micromanaged, or maybe they're going to be micromanaged just in that transition. So being able to know, when will I own my work? When will I have the opportunity to control the work that I'm doing? So these are like landing marks that you want to have in your conversation with people, and make sure you're covering off on them, because any one of these could be a trigger for somebody in the information that you're communicating with them. Relatedness. So this is where people want to know, am I still part of the team? Am I valued? So they want to know that they've got support mechanisms around them. They want to know that their work has value in the environment. And that they will be supported in that learning and in that change, and that they're still making an impact. And we don't want this to be tokenistic. We want to be able to check in with people about what it is for them that they need. So remember what I said before about thinking about the experiences that people might have had. The more curious that you can be and asking questions to go, what do you need through this process? What challenges might you have in terms of adapting to this new thing that we're doing at work? Who do you need to connect to? Who are the people that you want to talk to? What's going to strengthen the collaboration and those networks that people have within the workplace? Who are the people they can buddy up with, or follow this person, they're going to help you through this, or this person's a great person to talk to, they've had a bit of experience with this before. How can you create those networks for those people? But it might also be asking them, who are your support networks? Who will you get to help you work on this project? What can you demonstrate? I think this is a tricky one, is to be able to ensure that it's fair, because people will want to, if they're stressed, have that reaction. So how can you demonstrate that it's not them, it's the change in process, or it's a change in policy, recognizing that it may not be what they had hoped for their work, but it's not about them, it's about the change in direction for the organization or the company. and also helping them to understand. This is the really interesting thing about change management is what's in it for me? Why would I still care? Why have we changed the trajectory of the work? So what I would love to do if you're up for it, all of you have been very quiet, a little bit of stuff in the chat. I would love to do a breakout section where we actually put this into practice. I'd like to put you into breakout rooms. I've never done this on Zoom before. So let's see how I'll go. Put this in. You're my guinea pigs. I'm putting this into practice. So what we want to do in our breakout rooms is look at some different scenarios. Normally, Cecilia, so maybe take a screenshot of that, or if you've got your phone handy, take a picture of these scenarios. I'm going to see if I can. And what I want you to do with these scenarios, I'm going to do the breakout rooms in a minute. You want to, if hopefully you've captured some of that scarf methodology. Hopefully you've written some stuff down. And I want you to think about, in looking at those different scenarios, which domain out of SCARF is most likely to be triggered? And what are some phrases? So there were some great examples there, but what are some phrases that you might utilize to demonstrate some empathy? So to walk with them in that experience and to try and reduce or mitigate that real stress and threat response. And also in your group, if you can do that for about 10 minutes, and have somebody that can share in from your group those experiences. Okay, so I'm going to see how there's always one or two that will drop off when we think. So how many have we got of you on here now? So there's only 3 of you on here. Dame's my assistant, so she's not going to want to do that. So I'm going to put it doesn't make sense to put 3 of you into a breakout room. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my camera off and my audio off. I'm copping out here. I could have done a breakout room. Maybe I should try. Can I experiment with the 3 of you? Because I've never done it before. I'm going to see if I can breakout rooms. Okay, assign manually. I'm going to create one breakout room. You're going to be my guinea pigs. And I'm going to assign you Licia, Dale, and Melanie. You're all going to go into your own breakout room for 10 minutes. So hopefully you've written everything down. You got any questions, pop them in the chat or open up your mic. I'm going to put you into your own little breakout room. Hopefully this works. And I want you to pick one of those scenarios that I put on the screen for you before. I'll put the screen back so you can just see them before I put you in the breakout room. So take a screenshot of the different scenarios. Go backwards. There's the different scenarios. I'm going to let you choose which one you want to do. There's some fun ones there. RTO, if you're wondering what that means, it's return to office. So imagine this is after COVID, they're going to deciding that people aren't going to be working from home so much. It's going from 3 days to 2. All right. All good? No one's popped anything in the chat. Okay. I'm going to open all rooms. Here we go. Are you moving? Did that work? There you go. People are moving to rooms. Licia, there you go.
This is where the part where
Start recording. Sorry for those that are watching the recording. Here is a summary of the things we've just discussed, the visual representation. But Alicia, what you were explaining in terms of that experience of not having that closure, not having those options, what you've learned through that experience, that's great. How uncomfortable that felt for you. So I think this is really valuable for you to recognize for all of you, some of those experiences that you've been through and going, yes, I can see the signs. I can see where my leadership missed out on something. Yeah. And I think that I know from coaching people through stress situations that people will get stressed if they feel they've got no choices and no control. The serenity prayer that's used by Alcoholics Anonymous is very powerful for that reason, because it says, I can never remember to quote it, but it's along the lines of, God, grant me the serenity to have the wisdom to recognize what's in my control. No, I can't remember. You know the one I'm talking about though, don't you? Like to know what's in control, what's not, and the wisdom to know the difference. Being able to choose what I have control over. And that one there is a big part of that. And the scarf model hits on certainty and those kind of things. So Cecilia and I talk a lot about how to have these difficult conversations, how to resolve conflicts, how to deal with difficult behaviors. We want people to be able to manage these challenging conversations. So we are always putting out some content, whether it be, we've got podcasts, we've got blogs, we do some short stuff on social media. So we want to hear your feedback though. That Alicia, that and Dale and Melanie, that feedback that you gave us about your own experiences is so helpful. So I would love to hear from you if you're able to apply that SCARF model or the CLEAR framework in order to prepare for a difficult conversation. Or if you can recall a difficult conversation you've had, did it work, did it not work, and share your experiences with us, because it really informs us to be able to keep producing better content. The other thing is, if you feel like you're going to have a difficult conversation, please feel free to reach out to us. Cecilia and I often give people a few quick tips and tricks that you can take away. And I can safely say that it's a constant thing that when I'm doing my coaching programs and coaching leaders, we are always talking about how to have some of these performance management conversations, addressing people's behavior, some really tough conversations. So please feel free to reach out, ask us any questions. I'm going to put Cecilia's contact details up here because she would love to hear from you. She really would love to hear from you, and she's a real expert in these areas. So you can connect with her via email or on LinkedIn. Like I said, word of mouth is really important to us. So we would love a Google review. There's a link there. Or if you want to connect with either of us on LinkedIn and give us a recommendation, you'll get a feedback form. It helps us to keep improving the content and to get the word out. So please share this information and give us your feedback. So we've got a bit of time now. We've finished a little bit early. I would love to hear from the three of you, and I can stop recording if you like. I would love to hear from you what you might take away from today. What's some things that you've picked up on or reaffirmed? And if you've got any questions around any of it, it's just a little intimate meeting between the four of us. I'm just going to stop the recording. Yes.